We now welcome in Chris Lopresti and John Jastremski for some Knickerbocker banter. And, fellas, the Knicks scored 45 points with 10 assists in the second quarter. Second half, a total of 40 points. CeeLo, what happened to the ball movement?
A variety of things. I mean, look, when the threes are going down, which they were in the second quarter, everything looks much better because they got off to another dreadful start from deep. It was 1 for 10. Then all of a sudden they're 7 of 9, and everything's clicking, and you're going into halftime thinking this is beautiful. Ball movement, guys are contributed. Mikal Bridges is looking good. He's filling up the stat sheet. And I think second half, it's just one of those NBA things where you go cold and all of a sudden things get stagnant. They start to lean on Jalen Brunson too much. And then when he's on the bench, they've got no one they can turn to that's scoring the basketball. I know we'll get to Cat in a second, which was a rough night for him. But, you know, Bridges can be streaky. And we saw first half things were going great. All of a sudden, second half, the production's not there as much. And I think into the fourth quarter then, once Brunson got that little injury, whatever it was, I know he stayed in the game. Down the stretch when they needed a bucket, he wasn't the finisher that he normally is. And again, when you're turning and looking for other guys to step up and make a play and give you a much-needed offensive possession and a bucket, they had no one to turn to tonight. So not a great second half, obviously, for this offense. You know, maybe some growing pains under Mike Brown and this new system. But I think it's one of those instances where unless it's Brunson, some nights it's just not going to be there for the Knicks.
So, fellas, it was funny. A year ago, there were a lot of discussions the three of us may have had about the offense being way too Jalen Brunson-centric and the idea of the Knicks standing and watching Jalen Brunson. But it was all Tom Thibodeau's fault, right? It was all Tibbs' fault that at some particular points in some particular games, it would just be watch Jalen Brunson, try to work his magic, and guys standing around. You had that in the third and the fourth quarter of this game. This is not on Jalen Brunson, and I'm not going to put it on Mike Brown, but it's been a Knick issue when things go wrong for them. And to your point, CeeLo, they were draining threes like crazy in the second quarter. They got cold. The ball movement was not there. It was stand around, watch Jalen Brunson. And on the other end, you have the best player in the Eastern Conference who can go and flex. And he showed the New York Knicks how he can flex on a whole lot of teams. There's a reason why he's an absolute beast. There's a reason why he is the freak.
Yes.
But, yeah, way too much standing around and watching Brunson kind of led to the change in tide in this game.
Who had Game 4 October 28th for JJ, sarcastically bringing up Tom Thibodeau. But, you know, definitely too reliant on the three. 13 of 40 in this one, 15 of 54 from three against Miami. Obviously, fool's gold, all or nothing when you're shooting that many behind the arc. All right, tough night for Karl Anthony Towns, as CeeLo mentioned, with just 8 points. JJ, is this a concern right now, or is he just getting his sea legs for Mike Brown's system?
I'm not worried about Mike Brown's system and Karl Anthony Towns. That better not be a concern, because apparently people were concerned about Cat not having the right pick and pops and all of the stuff that we detailed last year with the coaching dismissal. This is not on Mike Brown. This, to me, is about the health and the status and the overall well-being of Cat, who hasn't looked like himself in a good majority of these games. And we knew he was dealing with injuries a week ago, but this guy was turning the ball over. The shot selection stunk. He's fouling like crazy. It was the epitome of everything that can go wrong with the Karl Anthony Towns experience. CeeLo, you got that against Milwaukee.
Yeah, and a couple of things. When you referenced the health opening night, we talked about him, or he talked about, how, you know, really having to kind of grunt his way through that for the home fans. So I think right now he's not at 100%, not to make excuses for him. So while Mitchell Robinson's out with the injury management, you know, I think they're leaning on Cat probably for a little bit more than they normally would. He's playing more at the 5. But as far as, you know, sea legs and Mike Brown's system, we saw a lot of these games last season when Tom Thibodeau was still here. Nights where, even into the playoffs, where Cat just didn't look himself. He wasn't in the flow of the offense. Sometimes him and Brunson being on the floor at the same time together, not working. So I'm certainly not laying it in the Mike Brown category. I think this is just one of those nights where Cat didn't have it going.